Athletes. We see them on the TV screen landing knockout punches, making great saves, and achieving comeback victories. But what happens when the lights dim and the crowds go silent? Behind all the adrenaline, all the glory and victories. If you think you know everything about your favorite sports stars, think again, because today we'll dive into the darker side of these athletes. Now, doping scandals are nothing new in the sports field. Throughout history, athletes have been willing to ingest just about anything to enhance their performance. For them, all they seek is victory, and the path towards it is none of their concern. When Canadian track star Ben Johnson won gold in the 100-meter at the Olympic Games in Seoul, South Korea on September 24, 1988, he not only established a new world record, but also defeated his American rival, Carl Lewis. In the press conference afterward, he eulogized, and I quote,
What?
"A gold medal, that's something no one can take away from you."
Nobody can match me.
But it turns out they could take it away from him. And they did, 2 days later when he tested positive for the steroid stanozolol. But it wasn't as dark as what Lance Armstrong did. Lance Armstrong was once considered the best cyclist in the world. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Armstrong seemingly had it all. He had beaten testicular cancer, he was dating famed singer Sheryl Crow, and he just kept winning the Tour de France with 7 consecutive titles from 1999 to 2005. He even took home the bronze medal at the 2000 Olympic Games in Sydney, Australia. But his stardom came crashing down when it was revealed in 2012, after a major investigation and a heap of evidence, that he'd been doping for years. The world had finally discovered the dark reason behind Armstrong's outstanding performances. His fall from grace was swift, with his record Tour de France victories stripped, a lifetime ban from competitive cycling handed down by the UCI, a remittance of his Olympic medal, a $5 million settlement paid to the United States government, and countless lost endorsement revenue. Despite losing all his titles and being shamed by the sport, Armstrong said in 2019 that he wouldn't have done anything differently.
We did what we had to do to win, and it wasn't legal. It was not, probably wasn't the best decision. We wouldn't have won had we not.
That's shocking. But what Maradona did was on a whole new level. Diego Maradona, one of the greatest footballers ever, was also infamous for his cocaine addiction. Leading Argentina to victory in the 1986 World Cup, his career was marred by doping scandals and erratic behavior. From a 15-month ban in 1991 to his dramatic expulsion from the 1994 World Cup after testing positive for multiple substances, Maradona's legacy is a mix of brilliance and controversy. After scoring a superb goal in the game against Greece in the first round, he famously celebrated by running towards a TV camera, screaming with elation, eyes bulging out of his head. The image has become iconic in Argentina and serves as a reminder to many there about how many times Maradona, despite being the people's hero, also frequently disappointed a great many of his fans. Maria Sharapova burst onto the tennis scene in 2004 and quickly assumed the role of tennis's glamour girl, with 5 Grand Slam titles under her belt. Not only is she the first Russian woman with the world #1 ranking, but she is also the first premier tennis star in history to fail a doping test, and has admitted to using the banned endurance-enhancing drug known as meldonium. The list of athletes involved in doping scandals doesn't end here, but doping is just a minor footnote among the more scandalous crimes. So if you thought doping was bad, wait until you hear the rest of it. 11 years ago, on Valentine's Day of 2013, Oscar Pistorius went from being a sports hero who inspired millions with his dedication and determination to an internationally known villain when he shot and killed his model girlfriend Riva Steenkamp in her hometown of Pretoria. It was the beginning of the decline of an athlete who until that day had become a Paralympics idol, not only for his successes, but also for his fight for equality. Becoming the first double amputee to compete in the Olympic Games, as he had his legs amputated below the knee, and fitted with prosthetics at just 11 months old. The former sprinter claimed after his arrest that he mistook his partner for an intruder. Pistorius' defense team argued self-defense, while the prosecution painted a picture of premeditated crime. The police later revealed a different side of Pistorius, filled with jealousy and previous arguments in the relationship, as witnessed by several neighbors who did not support the version of the athlete. Eventually, he was sentenced to more than 13 years in prison. The high-profile murder trial exposed the now 37-year-old's darker side, offering glimpses of a dangerously volatile man with a penchant for guns, beautiful women, and fast cars. In 2009, he had spent a night in jail after allegedly assaulting a 19-year-old woman at a party in a case that was settled out of court. 2 years later, he was accused of firing a gun through the sunroof of an ex-girlfriend's moving car. Weeks before he shot Steenkamp, he discharged a gun by accident at a Johannesburg restaurant. Violence and sports don't mix, and the result is often nothing less than serious trouble. Karl Malone is considered to be one of the greatest power forces in NBA history. A 14-time NBA All-Star, an 11-time member of the All-NBA First Team, he ranks third in all-time NBA career points. If that wasn't impressive enough, he also holds the record for the most number of NBA free throws attempted and made. There is no denying he is one of the greats. But as any sport fan knows, great on-court performance does not mean you haven't done some pretty messed up things off the court. Let's rewind to the early 1980s. While playing for the Bulldogs at Louisiana Tech University, the then 20-year-old Karl impregnated 13-year-old Gloria Bell, who he claimed was his girlfriend. Bell said that her family declined to press statutory rape charges at the time, as it was clear Malone was heading for a big NBA career. Malone later denied paternity of the child, Demetris Bell, future NFL lineman. Bell's family sued Malone and eventually settled out of court with the condition that the basketball star was acknowledged as the father of Demetris Bell. Malone finally met his son when he turned 17, but reportedly told him that it was too late for him to be his father and he'd have to make it on his own. In 2014, he reunited with Demetris, and in 2018, Malone said that he talks to his son nearly every day. Malone has faced another lawsuit from Benita Ford, with whom he had twins, Daryl and Cheryl Ford. He was also accused of harassing Vanessa Bryant, the wife of the late Kobe Bryant. Malone has his great list of infamous deeds, but Mike Tyson's dark side is one to be feared. Former heavyweight boxing champion Mike Tyson may be an all-star athlete, but he has a rap sheet as long as his list of accolades. In 1992, Tyson was famously convicted of rape per the New York Times. His victim was an 18-year-old Miss Black America contestant. He was sentenced to a whopping 10 years in prison, but 4 of those years were suspended, and in the end, he only served 3 years of his 6-year sentence. He was also accused of domestic assault by his first wife, Robin Givens, who claimed that she was scared of her husband. Tyson's worst moment in the ring came amid his comeback after his prison sentence. In a rematch with Evander Holyfield, who had stopped Tyson in their first title about a year prior, Tyson bit Holyfield's ear off clean and was subsequently disqualified from the fight, fined, and suspended. This was a clear glimpse of Tyson's brutality and savage mindset. Let's now step onto something more controversial. Hope Solo, a celebrated goalkeeper of the U.S. women's national soccer team, World Cup champion and 2-time Olympic gold medalist, may also be the most controversial woman in sports history. Solo's history of violence began in her senior year of high school, when she had a restraining order filed against her by another student, whom Hope had punched 3 times in the face. Hope's biggest controversy, however, was the assault on her half-sister Teresa Obert and her 17-year-old nephew on June 21, 2014. She was arrested on domestic violence charges after the police arrived to find Solo intoxicated and upset, and her sister and nephew visibly injured. Solo's nephew had a bleeding cut on his left ear and scratch marks on his arms. The charges against Solo, who entered a not guilty plea, were officially dropped in 2018. Her record of scandals doesn't end here. In 2022, Hope was found by 2 police officers passed out in her car in a Walmart parking lot, with the engine running and her 2-year-old twins in the back seat reeking of alcohol. She was arrested but refused to submit to a breathalyzer test. A police officer obtained a search warrant for a blood sample and found that Solo had a blood alcohol level of 0.24. That's 3 times North Carolina's legal limit of 0.08. She also tested positive for THC. Despite the long sheet of controversies behind her, Hope continues to label herself as the victim, provoking many sports fans to call her a narcissist and psychopath. Scandals and controversies are a part of the sports world, but which of these athletes do you think deserves a second chance? Tell us in the comments below. Make sure to like this video, subscribe for more intriguing content, and hit the notification bell icon so you don't miss our next story.